Hi, I'm Marissa, and for most of my life, I thought loyalty meant swallowing hurt for the sake of peace, especially when it came to family, especially when it came to my younger sister, Angela. Angela has always been the center of attention. Growing up, she was the one with the bright eyes, the loud laugh, and a personality that turned heads. And I was the quiet one, the dependable one, the one who cleaned up after her chaos and stood silently on the sidelines while she basked in the spotlight. My parents called it letting her shine. I called it being invisible, but I never resented it, not really. I figured that's what big sisters did. We protected, we supported, we kept things running smoothly so our siblings could stumble, fall, and still land on their feet. I told myself that Angela would grow out of her selfishness one day, that eventually she'd appreciate what I'd done for her. That day never came. Angela is 6 years younger than me. When our dad passed suddenly from a stroke while I was a junior in college, I dropped out for a semester to help my mom. Angela was 15 then, moody, fragile, and unwilling to accept the reality that dad wasn't coming back. While she locked herself in her room and blamed the world, I helped arrange the funeral, managed bills with mom, and even picked up night shifts at a bakery to keep us afloat. That year nearly broke me, but if you'd asked my family who needed comforting, they would have all said Angela. That pattern never changed. When Angela got into her dream college but couldn't afford the deposit, I used the bonus from my job to cover it. When she crashed her first car, twice, I helped co-sign for the third. And when she got engaged at 23 to a guy we all barely knew, I planned the bridal shower, paid for the invitations, and even covered the deposit for the venue. She broke off the engagement 6 weeks later. No explanation, no apology, just tears and chaos, and me picking up the pieces. I'm 38 now, no husband, no kids, but I've built a solid life. I run a boutique graphic design studio in Austin, Texas, and I own a small, beautiful home with a garden I actually have time to tend. Most of my friends are married with children. Sometimes, when I hold their babies or attend school recitals, I feel that pang, that quiet ache of something missed. But I tell myself I have freedom, stability, peace. And then came Angela's baby announcement. It was a group message, not even a phone call, just a mass text with a photo of her holding up a tiny onesie and the words, "We're pregnant." Baby girl arriving in May, feeling blessed. I stared at the screen for a long time. The father, Mark, was new. I hadn't even heard she was seeing anyone seriously. Last I checked, she was still healing from that last toxic relationship, as she put it. And yet, here she was, 5 months pregnant, with a registry already linked in her bio and a shower date already set. Still, I congratulated her, sent a heart emoji, even called, though she didn't answer. A few hours later, she texted back, "Love you too, sis. Been meaning to catch up. It's been so hectic." The thing is, I wanted to be happy for her. I did. Despite everything, she was my sister. Maybe this would be her turning point. Maybe motherhood would mature her. 2 weeks later, she called me in a flurry. "Hey, I need a huge favor," she said, her voice sugary sweet. "I found the perfect venue for the shower, but I maxed my card out last month buying nursery stuff and the deposit's due tomorrow. Can I use yours? I'll pay you back as soon as Mark's bonus hits." I hesitated. I should have said no, but old habits die hard. I gave her the card details. Thank you," she squealed. "You're the best. You'll love the place. It's got those little hanging fairy lights and this rustic vibe you're always into." The next few weeks went by in a blur. I checked in occasionally, asking if she needed help with decor, seating charts, the menu. Each time, she brushed me off with a vague, "I've got it all handled, don't stress." Then came the text that shattered everything. "You don't need to come to the baby shower, just send a gift." No explanation, no apology, just that, like I was some distant cousin. Not the person who had been there for her every crisis. Not the woman whose credit card she used to book the entire venue. I reread it 4 times. I thought maybe I was misunderstanding, that there had to be some context I was missing. I called. She didn't answer. I left a voicemail. "Angela, what's going on?" Hours passed, then came another text. "It's just going to be a lot of Mark's friends and his family, and I think it would just be awkward. No offense. It's just not your vibe." Not my vibe? I felt the slow burn in my chest, rage, humiliation, grief. She didn't even want me there. Not after everything I'd done, not after every year of choosing her over myself. I sat with that feeling for hours, staring at my ceiling, letting it wash over me. And then I made a decision. If Angela wanted to cut me out of her celebration, fine, but she was going to learn what it meant to disrespect the one person who had never left her. I didn't respond right away. Instead, I stared at that text like it was written in a foreign language. The words were clear enough, but the message underneath it? That took a moment to sink in. She didn't want me there. Not even in the back row. Not even as a shadow. Just send a gift. The irony was cruel. The venue she'd booked, the fairy light-covered rustic space with exposed wood beams and soft white linens, that had my name on it, literally, my credit card, my deposit, my money. And yet she decided I didn't belong. She wanted the money. She didn't want me. And I realized, maybe that's how it had always been. I poured myself a glass of wine and opened my laptop. The email with the venue confirmation was still sitting there from weeks ago. I opened it, looked at the contract, looked at the line with my full name and billing address under primary cardholder. I scanned the cancellation policy. Non-refundable if canceled within 48 hours of the event? Good. We were still 8 days out, and I was done being her safety net. Before I made any decisions, I needed to know something for sure. I texted her casually. Hey, just want to double check. Are you sure you don't want me at the shower? Not even to help out? A few minutes passed, then the typing bubbles. Yeah, I think it's just best this way. Less drama. Hope you understand. Less drama? What drama? The drama of being the one person in her life who showed up without needing to be begged? I closed the text thread. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to call my mom. I wasn't going to play the good daughter or the understanding older sister this time. I was going to protect myself. And maybe, just maybe, I was going to send a message of my own. The cancellation was easy. One email, 2 forms, and a brief call with the venue coordinator who sounded vaguely concerned until I explained I was the cardholder and no longer hosting the event. I didn't owe her a reason, but I gave one anyway. Let's just say the guest of honor made it clear the host wasn't welcome. She paused. Then, in a voice tinged with sympathy, said, Understood. The cancellation confirmation will be in your inbox within the hour. One domino down. Next up, the registry. Angela had blasted that registry link on every social platform. Instagram, Facebook, even LinkedIn. Like it was some kind of charity fundraiser. Crib sheets, baby monitors, monogrammed onesies, gift cards to high-end baby boutiques, all totaling over $3,000. And you know who bought the first gift? Me. A handcrafted rocking chair, $350. It was still in processing. I canceled it. Then I compiled a list of every email address on the guest list. Easy enough. Angela had emailed me a copy weeks ago when she was bragging about the RSVP count and asked if I could create a cute digital invitation for free. I opened my design software, and I got to work. The header was simple, bold, professional. Notice, the baby shower has been canceled underneath. I kept it polite. Due to unforeseen changes, the baby shower for Angela Taylor scheduled for this Saturday has been canceled. Please disregard the prior invitation and consider any registry contributions postponed until further notice. Then, in italics, we apologize for the confusion. If you have already purchased a gift, please consider canceling your order until the new host provides updated details. And at the bottom, I signed it. Marissa Taylor, original cardholder and organizer. It wasn't cruel. It was honest. It was controlled. It was the first time in years I didn't swallow my hurt just to keep the peace. I hit send, all 86 guests, gone. The first sign of fallout came within an hour, a text from Angela. What the hell did you just do? I didn't respond. Then a follow-up. Why did you cancel the venue? I can't believe you'd sabotage my shower like this. Then another. I told everyone you were busy, that you were traveling. Why would you do this to me? Still, I didn't respond, because for once I didn't owe her an explanation. She had made the choice when she told me I didn't need to be there. She just didn't think I'd ever stand up for myself. And the truth is, Neither did I, until now. By evening, my phone had 42 missed calls. Half were from Angela, the others, mutual friends, a few distant cousins, even my mom. The voicemails ranged from confused to enraged. "Marissa, what's going on?" "Angela's sobbing and guests are calling me asking if this is some kind of joke." "Why didn't you call me first before doing something so public?" "Your sister's pregnant. Do you really think this is the time to start drama?" I sat on the couch, listening to each one while sipping my wine. No one called to ask why I did it. No one said, "I'm sorry she hurt you." It was all damage control for Angela, the golden child, the one who could do no wrong even when she threw the only person who'd never abandoned her under the bus. I turned off my phone at midnight, and for the first time in years, I slept with relief. Not because I earned the privilege, but because I finally stopped carrying the weight of my mind. I didn't turn my phone back on until late the next morning. I made coffee, sat in the parlor, listened to the birds outside my kitchen window. For once, the silence felt like peace, not punishment. No buzzing notifications, no background tension of what will she need next. Just stillness. When I finally powered my phone up, it vibrated so violently it skidded across the counter. 79 unread messages, 42 missed calls, and one voicemail from my mother that made my stomach twist. "Marissa, I don't even know where to begin. Angela is devastated. We are all devastated. She says you canceled the venue and humiliated her in front of everyone. Call me, please. We need to fix this before it gets worse." Before it gets worse. I stood there, gripping the edge of the counter, heart racing. Where was this energy when I spent thousands keeping this family afloat? Where was this urgency when I sat alone for holidays because Angela had another crisis? Where was this desperation to make things right when I was the one quietly hurting? Fix it, number not this time. I didn't need to be the one fixing things anymore. Angela showed up that afternoon, no call, no warning, just the sound of her engine in my driveway, followed by rapid, frantic knocking on my front door. I looked through the peephole. She looked wrecked, mascara smeared, her hair in a frizzy bun, one flip-flop on and one in her hand, belly round beneath a stretched-out sweatshirt that still had the venue's logo printed across it. A cruel irony. I opened the door just wide enough to step into the frame. She didn't wait for an invitation. "You seriously canceled the venue? Are you out of your mind?" I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. "You told me I wasn't invited." "I didn't say you weren't invited. I said you didn't need to come." I raised an eyebrow. "Same difference." She threw her hands in the air, flustered. "It was supposed to be simple, no drama. Just a day about me and the baby and Mark's family. You always make everything about you." That hit like a slap, but not because it was true, because it was so far from the truth that I could almost laugh. "Make it about me?" I repeated, my voice shaking slightly with restraint. "Angela, I was the one who paid for the venue, the one who offered to help, the one you cut out like I was some second cousin you didn't want in the pictures." "I didn't cut you out," she shrieked. I thought you wouldn't fit in." And there it was. You wouldn't fit in, with her curated life, her fiancé's wealthy family, her Instagrammable baby shower. I was the one who had cleaned up her broken engagements, paid for her therapy once when mom couldn't afford it. I had designed 3 different resumes for her across 5 different jobs she never kept, but now I didn't fit in. I stepped aside just enough to open the door wider, then nodded toward the hall closet. "You see that box in there? That's the rocking chair, the one I ordered as your gift. Solid wood, hand-carved. Took me weeks to find it. I canceled it the moment you sent that text." Angela looked at me like she didn't recognize me. "I canceled everything," I said flatly. "The venue, the gift, the registry emails. I let everyone know the truth, that the person footing the bill wasn't welcome, and I'm not sorry." Her lip trembled. For a moment, I thought she might actually cry, but Angela rarely cried when no one was watching. "You embarrassed me," she whispered, voice laced with venom. "Mark's mom was horrified. His sisters think I'm trash. Everyone thinks I'm some user who kicked out her own sister." "Well," I said, "if the shoe fits." She blinked like I slapped her. "I was always there for you." I added quietly. Every time you called, every time you begged, I gave and gave until I didn't even know what was mine anymore. You took my kindness for granted, Angela, but that's not on me. That's on you. She stood frozen, face red, breathing shallow. Then she turned without another word and stormed back to her car. But just before she opened the door, she turned over her shoulder and hissed, "I hope you're happy." And for once, I think I was. The fallout continued all week. Mom called, left voicemails alternating between guilt trips and pleas. "You're her sister," she said at one point. "Family forgives. Family shows up even when it hurts." I almost threw the phone across the room because I had shown up over and over again. When did anyone ever show up for me? My cousin Lisa sent me a DM that read, "I heard what happened." Honestly, good for you. Everyone's always tiptoeing around Angela's tantrums. Someone had to say it. Even my dad, who had stayed quiet in all this per usual, sent me a simple text. "I understand. I'm proud of you." Those 4 words meant more than he probably realized. But what really stuck with me was what didn't happen. Angela never apologized. Not a call, not a message, not a hint of ownership. And maybe that was the final nail in the coffin of whatever fantasy I'd built about sisterhood. She didn't want reconciliation. She wanted a cover story, a way to keep impressing the people she thought mattered more than me. But now, she had 42 missed calls, and no one left to impress. My mother showed up 2 days later. Unlike Angela, she didn't come screeching into the driveway or banging on the front door. She knocked once, soft, like she wasn't sure if she should be there, and waited. When I opened the door, she stood holding a Tupperware container and an expression I couldn't quite read. "I brought your favorite," she said gently, "that chicken casserole with the crispy onions." The last time she'd brought me that was after my appendectomy, 10 years ago. I stared at the container for a long second before stepping aside and letting her in. She walked into the living room like she was stepping onto a stage, eyes scanning everything like it might speak against her. She sat down on the edge of the sofa, her hands folded tight around her purse in her lap. I didn't sit. "I know why you're here," I said. She nodded. "We need to talk." "You mean you need to talk?" She flinched a little, then gave a sad smile. "Maybe I do." For a moment, neither of us said anything. The silence stretched thick between us, heavy with years of unspoken things. Then she sighed. "Angela's been a mess." I didn't respond. "She's crying, she's not eating. Mark's threatening to cancel the christening because of how dramatic everything's gotten, and she's refusing to speak to me." I crossed my arms. "And?" Mom looked up, surprised. "And I thought maybe you could reach out, extend an olive branch. She's pregnant, Marissa." "And I'm tired, Mom." My voice came out lower than I meant it to. Not angry, just done. "I'm tired of being the one who has to swallow everything and play the peacemaker. You know how long I've been doing that? Since I was 12. Since Dad worked double shifts and Angela broke your favorite vase, and I took the blame so you wouldn't yell at her." Her face tightened. "That's not fair." "No, it's not," I said sharply, "but it's true." She blinked, stunned. "I have spent my entire life cleaning up after Angela, paying for her mistakes, covering her rent, bailing her out. And what did I get in return? A text telling me not to come to the shower I paid for." "I didn't know she said that to you," Mom said softly. I laughed bitterly. "Of course you didn't, because you never ask. You just take her version of the story and run with it." "That's not, it is," I interrupted. "You've always done this. Always. When Angela quit college and I covered her tuition bill, you told me I should have asked before interfering. When she lost her job and I bought her groceries for 3 months, you said I was enabling her. And when she showed up crying on your porch after dumping the guy who cheated on her, you told me I was too cold because I didn't rush to hold her hand." My hands were shaking now, but I didn't stop. Do you know what I got when I landed my first big client? A text that said, "Good for you." That's it. No flowers, no dinner, nothing. But when Angela got a part-time job at a smoothie place for 2 weeks, you baked a damn cake. My mother looked like she'd been slapped. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. So I kept going. "I've never asked for much, Mom. Not really. I didn't throw tantrums. I didn't demand. I didn't expect handouts. And maybe that's the problem. You all got so used to me not needing that you forgot I deserved something too. She put the casserole on the coffee table, her hands trembling now. I didn't know you felt this way, she whispered. I gave a short, bitter laugh. You didn't want to know. Silence again, long and aching. Then she looked at me with wet eyes. So what happens now? I don't know, I admitted, but I do know I'm done pretending everything's fine when it's not. I'm not going to keep feeding a system that chews me up and asks for more. She wiped a tear away. Angela's your sister. And I'm your daughter, I said quietly, but that didn't stop you from making me feel like an afterthought. She nodded slowly, like the weight of it was finally settling on her shoulders. I'm sorry, Marissa. Truly, I've failed you in ways I'm only now starting to see. The words stung, not because they weren't genuine, but because they were coming decades late. Still, they mattered. More than the casserole. More than the apology on Angela's behalf I never received. Because for once, I heard my mother say my name in a sentence that didn't include Angela. She left after an hour. No hugs, no dramatic promises. Just a quiet goodbye and a whispered, I'll try to do better. And that was fine. I didn't need grand gestures. I needed space. And for the first time, I'd claimed it. It's strange what happens when you stop showing up for someone. Not in a petty way, not out of cruelty, just when you stop bending over backward, when you stop answering every call, when you stop rushing in to rescue someone who never even says thank you, they start to fall apart. Angela's unraveling didn't happen overnight, but it happened fast enough to feel like karma had finally decided to clock in. It started on Instagram. Gone were the glow-up maternity photo shoots and poetic captions about manifesting your dream life. Instead, her feed went quiet. Then slowly, a few cryptic stories started to pop up. When people betray you, just remember, it says more about them than it does about you. Lessons, growth, truth hurts. I didn't engage. I didn't even screenshot it for friends. I just watched. Like someone watching a house they didn't build start to collapse from a safe distance. A week after the canceled shower, Rachel, my best friend of 15 years, called to say Angela had posted on Facebook asking if anyone knew a reasonably priced event planner. Apparently, she was trying to throw a new shower, this time on her own dime, this time without me, and this time no one was volunteering to help. Because my email? It had worked. People talked. Quietly, but clearly. Friends of mine told friends of hers. The message got around. Angela had humiliated her sister, used her card, and then kicked her off the guest list. And let me tell you something about social events. People don't like being lied to. Or being pulled into drama, especially not the kind that makes them look like suckers. Half the guests never RSVP'd to her new invite. The other half sent polite declines. Some returned registry gifts unopened. And her fiancé's mother? She canceled the flower sponsorship and told Angela, "This kind of behavior doesn't reflect well on the family." I'd never spoken to that woman in my life, but I wanted to send her a thank you basket. Meanwhile, my mother kept trying to play peacemaker. She sent articles, literally, articles on healing sibling relationships and the importance of forgiving family. She texted me quotes, scriptures, even a podcast link titled Sisters Before Grudges. But what she didn't send? Accountability. Not once did she say, Angela's wrong. Not once did she say, you deserved better. It was always, she's hormonal, she's stressed, she's embarrassed. And I realized with a kind of aching clarity that my mother wasn't just blind to Angela's behavior, she was complicit in it. She had built Angela's pedestal one excuse at a time, and I'd helped her do it. Every time I stayed quiet, every time I picked up the slack, every time I made myself small to keep the peace. So I stopped replying to the texts, not in anger, in self-preservation. Rachel came over one night that week with wine and a folder. "Okay," she said, setting it down on my dining table. "You've spent the last few years giving and apologizing and shrinking. It's time to expand. This," she flipped the folder open, "is your expansion era." Inside were brochures, business programs, weekend retreats, skill-building seminars, even a yoga pass. I figured, she said with a grin, if Angela gets to have a shower for making a baby, you should get a celebration for finally choosing yourself. I laughed so hard I almost cried, but underneath the laughter was a truth I hadn't fully sat with until that moment. I hadn't been living for me. I'd been living for obligation, for approval, for that fleeting nod from my mother, that crumb of affection from my sister, that role of fixer that I never auditioned for but somehow landed anyway. And the minute I let go of that role, the world didn't fall apart. Angela did. And somehow, for the first time, I felt light. The next day, I took Rachel's advice. I signed up for a weekend solo retreat in the hill country. No phones, no emails, just hiking, meditation, and real, unfiltered silence. I almost backed out. My brain screamed all the usual lies. What if Angela calls with an emergency? What if mom needs something? What if you're being selfish? But then I remembered I was always allowed to be selfish. I just never let myself be. So I packed my bag, turned off my phone, and left. That weekend changed everything. Not because of the guided meditation or the plant-based meals, but because somewhere between the third hike and the fifth sunrise, I realized I didn't miss them. I missed what I wanted them to be. I missed the sister I never had. I missed the mother I sometimes glimpsed in small moments, but never fully got. And most of all, I missed the version of me I buried every time. I gave another piece of myself away to people who didn't know how to hold it. I came home sun-kissed, sore, and somehow softer, but sharper too. I was done living on borrowed peace. A week later, a package arrived on my doorstep. No return label, no note. Inside? The rocking chair, the exact one I'd ordered weeks ago before canceling the gift. It had a big blue bow tied around it and a tiny card that read, "For the aunt she still needs." Angela's handwriting. It was meant to be sweet. It was meant to be a gesture, but to me, it felt like a bribe. A way to say, let's forget this ever happened, Shant, without actually apologizing. And this time, I didn't bite. I left the chair in the garage. Because if my niece ever asked me one day why I didn't come to the baby shower, I wanted to be able to tell her the truth, that I chose myself, and it was the best gift I'd ever given. It wasn't until mid-April, about 3 weeks after the baby shower fallout, that the family group chat exploded. Yes, that group chat, the one my mom uses to send Sunday prayer quotes and Angela uses to brag about baby kicks and nursery colors. That morning, it was my Uncle Ray who dropped the match. "So I heard from Kathy that Angela and Mark are taking a break already? Anyone know what's going on?" The group went dead quiet. Then, of course, came Mom. "Ray, this isn't the place. Let's respect Angela's privacy." But the floodgates had opened. Aunt Loretta chimed in. Cousin Marlene sent a string of wide-eyed emojis. Then Lisa, God bless Lisa, replied, "Pretty sure this group stopped being about respect when Angela kicked her sister out of the baby shower she paid for. Just saying." I nearly choked on my coffee when I read that. It was the first time anyone in the family had acknowledged it publicly. The silence after Lisa's message was almost deafening. Until finally, Angela wrote, "Wow, nice to know who's really family in this group. Maybe some of you should look in the mirror before judging." And just like that, her carefully controlled image started to crumble in front of the very audience she once used to humiliate me. A few hours later, I got a direct message from Mark. Yes, Mark, the fiancé. It was short and awkward. "Hey, just wanted to say I had no idea what really happened with the shower. I only heard her side. That was messed up. You didn't deserve that." I didn't reply, not out of malice. I just didn't owe anyone else my time. Not anymore. But something about the message lingered with me. Because if Mark was reaching out, that meant something had cracked wide open, and I had a feeling Angela's fantasy life was splintering beneath the weight of all the pretending. By the end of that week, mutual friends started reaching out again. Nothing dramatic, just casual check-ins. "Hey, I know things have been weird, but I just wanted to say I admire how you handled everything." I didn't know the full story. I'm sorry if I made assumptions. One even wrote, "I backed out of her second shower because honestly, she made it all about herself. I think she just wanted the gifts." It felt vindicating, but bittersweet, Because while Angela was finally being seen for who she really was, I was left sorting through years of emotional debris. And just because the curtain had been pulled back didn't mean the damage disappeared. But you know what did disappear? The guilt. The constant gnawing guilt that maybe I'd overreacted, that maybe I'd been too harsh or too cold. That voice in my head, my mother's really, started to fade. I could breathe again. Then came the real test, a family dinner invitation at my parents' house. I hadn't been back there in almost 5 months, not since the night Angela texted me like I was a stranger. Mom's message was polite but emotionally loaded. "We're doing a small dinner Saturday, just family. It would mean a lot if you came. Your father misses you." No mention of Angela, no mention of the baby, just that familiar tug of obligation. I stared at the message for a long time. I thought about saying no, but something in me needed to go, not to smooth things over, not to make peace, but to look them all in the eye and see them clearly, without the rose-colored glasses I'd worn all my life. Saturday came. I wore a dark green dress, subtle, strong, a little sharp, the kind of outfit that said, "I'm not here to play your old games." When I walked in, Mom greeted me at the door like nothing had happened. "Honey, you look beautiful. Come in, your dad's in the kitchen carving the roast." I nodded, offering a polite smile. Angela was already seated at the dining table. Alone. No Mark. Her hair wasn't done. She looked tired, drawn, even smaller somehow. She didn't say a word to me, just sipped her water and stared at the placemat. I didn't break the silence, not this time. Dinner began. My father kept the conversation light. Sports, weather, some work gossip from his accounting firm. But everyone at that table knew there was an elephant in the room, and its name was betrayal. Halfway through the meal, Mom finally broke. "We've all made mistakes," she said quietly, placing her fork down. "But I believe in second chances, don't you?" It wasn't a question, it was a plea. I set my napkin down, slowly, deliberately. "I believe in growth," I said. "I believe in accountability." Angela flinched. "And I believe," I added, voice steady, "that forgiveness is a privilege, not an obligation." Dad gave me a look then, quiet approval, not a full smile, just a nod. Angela didn't speak, and for once my mother didn't defend her. She just said, "I understand." And for the first time, I believed she might actually mean it. After dessert, as I was putting on my coat, Angela followed me to the door. She looked pale, unsteady. Then finally she whispered, "I don't know how to fix this." I met her eyes. "You start by not pretending it never happened." She nodded, just barely, and I walked out into the night, not angry, not vindicated, just free. Spring rolled in like a slow exhale. The bluebonnets bloomed along the highways, the air turned soft and warm, and I found myself breathing deeper, longer than I had in years. There was something about clarity that changed the way everything looked, the way people sounded, the way I sounded. My voice, which used to trail off or soften to avoid conflict, now held a weight I hadn't realized it deserved. And just like that, I found myself standing taller, speaking slower, and not apologizing for things that weren't mine to carry. Meanwhile, Angela's world kept slipping. I didn't go digging, I didn't have to. Mutuals kept me updated in little drips, a canceled christening. Mark spotted at a bar in San Antonio with an ex. Rumors about his parents pulling financial support for the baby's nursery renovations. Some said they were giving her space. Others said they were tired of the drama. Either way, Angela was unraveling. The pedestal had cracked. And this time, no one was rushing in with glue and good intentions. Not me, not Mom, not Mark, not even social media. One night I got a text from my dad. "How about lunch this week? Just us. I've been meaning to talk." We hadn't had a one-on-one in years. Growing up, Dad was the quiet type, always working, always logical. He didn't fight, he didn't shout, he distanced himself from chaos. And for most of my life, that meant from me. We met at a little cafe near my office. I wore jeans and a soft sweater, no makeup. Just me. Present, clear, no armor. He ordered a Cobb salad. I got soup. We made small talk until he folded his napkin and looked me straight in the eye. "You did the right thing," he said simply. I blinked. "What?" "The shower. Angela, all of it. You were right to stop enabling it." I was quiet for a moment. Then, "Why didn't you say anything sooner?" He sighed. "Because I was afraid of upsetting your mom, of splitting the family further, of making things worse." I nodded. They were already worse. No one wanted to admit it. He looked down at his plate. "She's been like this since she was little, always needing more. And we kept giving, and well, you never asked for anything. We thought that meant you didn't need much." I held his gaze. I did. I needed fairness. I needed someone to notice I was breaking my back so Angela wouldn't fall. He nodded, slowly, painfully. "I see that now." He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out an envelope. "It's not everything, but it's something. I found your registry receipts, the shower invoice, and the payments you made for Angela years ago. I kept track, quietly, in case one day—" He trailed off. I thought maybe I'd make it right, when I had the courage. Inside the envelope was a check, not for the full amount, but a decent sum, more than I ever expected. I stared at it. "You didn't have to—" "I did," he said, "because I owe you more than money. I owe you acknowledgement, and I want you to have something that's yours, something that wasn't taken, something earned." I didn't cry, but I felt something melt in my chest, a warmth I hadn't felt in a long time, the kind that says, "You're finally being seen." We finished lunch in a comfortable silence, and when I left, I didn't look back. 2 days later, I got the call. Not from Angela, from Rachel. "You're not going to believe this," she said, barely able to contain the drama. I was walking through the aisles of Target with a cart full of candles and throw pillows, my peaceful Saturday. "What?" She posted a video, like a whole breakdown video, crying, talking about how hard her life is, how she has no support, how her baby shower got sabotaged by someone close to her, and she named you Marissa. Full name. I stopped mid-aisle. "What?" "Yeah, she said you maliciously canceled her celebration out of jealousy and tried to turn the whole family against her." Comments are not buying it. Ours may have been disappointed. Maybe if you didn't tell your sister not to come, she wouldn't have canceled the venue show. She's getting dragged. I didn't know what to say. Not because I was angry, but because I wasn't. I felt pity. Angela sucked at some decided change. She was now publicly rewriting history, broadcasting lies to strangers on the internet for validation she used to get from us. And now, she had no one left to protect her from herself. That night, my phone lit up again. Angela, calling. I let it ring. Then came the voicemail. "I can't believe what you've done to me. Everyone's against me. I can't go anywhere without people whispering. Mark left. My friends bailed. Even Mom's acting weird. You've ruined everything." No apology, just accusation, just like always. I deleted it without listening twice, because if there's one thing I've learned, it's this. The people who rely on you the most are often the first to call you the villain when you stop playing the role they cast you in. Angela didn't want healing. She wanted control. And the moment she lost it, she fell. But this time, no one caught her. There's a moment, quiet, almost imperceptible, when you realize your energy is finally your own. For me, it was a Tuesday morning. I was sipping coffee on my back patio, barefoot, scrolling through weekend retreat options like someone shopping for joy instead of obligation. For once, I wasn't bracing myself for another emergency, another Angela storm, another guilt trip from Mom or tension-riddled family dinner. The noise had finally faded. I had peace, and I wasn't giving it back. That week, I did something I'd been postponing for years. I started the process of expanding my design studio. I hired a part-time assistant, outsourced bookkeeping, signed up for a business accelerator, the money from Dad's check. I put it toward a dream I'd shelved long ago, launching a curated design line of custom-made home goods, not out of revenge, but because for the first time, I had the emotional bandwidth to bet on myself. Rachel cheered me on from the sidelines like the best friend she is. "You're finally blooming," she said one night over dinner. "You've been pruning yourself for years to make space for everyone else. It's your damn turn." I smiled, not because she was right, but because it finally felt true. And just when life started feeling full again, the final flare-up arrived. Angela, again. It was the middle of May, about 2 weeks before her due date, when I got the message. This time it was an email, long, rambling, sent at 3:12 a.m. The subject line? "For the baby's sake." I opened it, heart steady, fingers calm. It began with a fake sweetness I could smell through the screen. "I know we've had our differences. I know things got out of hand. But I want to be the bigger person for the sake of my daughter." She said my absence had caused confusion in the family, that people were picking sides and it was unfair to the baby. And then came the ask. "I'd really love if you could come to the hospital after she's born. Maybe even stay with me for a bit to help while I recover. I don't want her to miss out on knowing her aunt." I stared at the screen. She wasn't asking for forgiveness. She was asking for service. Again, she wasn't saying, "I'm sorry." She was saying, "I still need something from you." It hit me then. Angela didn't think she had burned a bridge. She thought I was still standing on the other side, waiting, arms open, ready to rebuild. But I wasn't. Not anymore. So I replied, one paragraph, director, clean. "Angela, I'm glad you're thinking of what's best for your daughter. That's exactly what I've been doing, for myself. Right now, I need to continue protecting my peace and focusing on healing from the ways I've been treated. I won't be able to be there after the birth. I hope you have the support you need. Marissa." I didn't sign it with love, because love isn't blind anymore. It has boundaries now. An hour later, my phone buzzed. Her reply? 3 sentences. "You're unbelievable. I hope you realize you're walking out on your niece. You'll regret this." I didn't respond, because I wasn't walking out on her baby. I was walking out on her, on the dysfunction, on the twisted emotional contract I never agreed to but always upheld, and I felt nothing but relief. A few weeks later, I got a text from Mom. "Baby arrived this morning, 6 pounds, 10 ounces. She's healthy. They're naming her Ava." No invitation, no pressure, just the facts. I replied, "Glad to hear she's healthy. Congratulations," and that was it. No fanfare, no gushing, no more pretending. Angela posted a photo on social media 3 days later, her holding the baby. No smile, no caption. Just a blurry picture and a comment section full of people asking, "Where's Mark?" Word had spread. He was gone, quietly, completely. Some said he moved in with a coworker. Others said he wanted a paternity test. No one knew for sure. But the illusion was shattered. The designer nursery, the champagne brunches, the curated life. Gone. And she was left holding the only thing she couldn't spin for applause: reality. And me, I was flying to Santa Fe, solo, a week-long artist's residency I'd applied for on a whim. I sketched on the plane, ate dinner in silence, slept with the windows open, took pictures of sunsets with no one to impress but myself. And one morning, in the quiet stillness of a desert sunrise, I wrote a note in my journal. Peace isn't what you find after the storm. It's what you build when you stop inviting the storm back in. Santa Fe gave me something I hadn't expected. Not closure, not forgiveness, but clarity. I spent hours sitting beneath blue skies, letting the desert wind carry my thoughts somewhere they couldn't weigh me down anymore. I painted, I journaled, I walked through markets with strangers who didn't know me as the sister, or the fixer, or the disappointment who didn't show up for the baby. They just saw me, Marissa, and that was enough. When I came back home, I didn't tell anyone. No big "I'm back" text. No family dinner planned. Just unpacked my suitcase, watered my plants, and sank back into the life I was building. Quietly, intentionally. But clarity has a way of making you see what still needs to be faced. And there was one door I hadn't closed yet. My mother's. I called her on a Thursday morning. "Mom," I said, "can we talk?" "Just the two of us." Her voice wavered. "Of course. Is everything okay?" Number. But I want it to be. We met at her place. Same living room, same throw pillows from when I was a teenager. It smelled like vanilla and guilt. She made tea like nothing had happened. She always did that, smoothed over moments with rituals, sugar in one, lemon in another, as if hospitality could erase history. I didn't sit right away. I need you to listen to me, I said, without defending Angela, without telling me how she's struggling, just listen. She looked startled, but nodded, so I began. You raised two daughters, Mom, one who needed everything and one who gave everything, and you only ever saw the one who cried louder. She swallowed hard. I spent years trying to earn something that should have come naturally. Your attention, your trust, your respect. I paid for her baby shower. I paid for her rent, her therapy, her mistakes. And when she told me not to come to that shower, you said nothing. I didn't know what to say. I'm not done. She blinked, then pressed her lips shut. I used to think if I just worked harder, showed up more, said yes more, that maybe one day you'd see me as more than backup. But now I know. This family was built on a script I never agreed to, and I'm done performing. Tears welled in her eyes. I never meant to make you feel lesser. But you did, I said gently, and meaning well doesn't undo the damage. Silence fell between us like a long shadow. I'm not here for an apology, I added. I'm here to tell you that I'm setting boundaries. I'm not going to be the one you call to fix things when Angela spirals again. I won't be guilted into visits or favors, and I won't keep pretending everything's fine when it's not. She nodded slowly, dabbing her eyes. I want a relationship with you, I said, but one that's mutual, one where I'm not always the one giving. Can you do that? Her voice cracked. I want that too. I sat down, slowly, and for the first time in my life, I didn't feel small in her presence. I felt equal. After that, we talked, really talked. Not about Angela, not about guilt, but about us, about who we used to be, who we still could be. She told me things I hadn't known. How scared she was when Dad died, how she poured everything into Angela because she saw so much of her younger self in her. How she assumed I was fine because I didn't fall apart in front of her. You were my rock, she whispered, but I forgot rocks can crack too. We sat in that space for a long time, and when I left, I knew something had shifted. Maybe not everything, but enough. That Sunday, I hosted brunch, not for family, for my family. Rachel came, of course, so did Lisa, and my new assistant Dana, a couple of local artists I met in Santa Fe. No drama, no tension, just women laughing, sharing stories, building something honest. I looked around the table and realized this is family too. It's not always who you're born to. It's who shows up when you're silent, who claps when no one's watching, who lets you rest when you're tired of being strong. Later that week, I got a photo message from Mom, Avenue sleeping, wrapped in a lavender blanket. Underneath, a message. Just wanted you to see her. No pressure, no expectations, just love. I stared at the photo for a long time. She was beautiful, tiny, peaceful, innocent. I didn't reply, not yet, because for once I was letting myself feel instead of fix. I wasn't sure when I'd meet her, but when I did, it would be on my terms. No guilt, no performance, just the truth. It's been 6 months. 6 months since the canceled baby shower. 6 months since I stopped apologizing for my boundaries. 6 months since I finally saw myself not as a side character in someone else's story, but as the author of my own. The world didn't end. Angela had her baby. Mom stopped sending passive-aggressive devotionals. Dad still invites me to lunch once a month, and those lunches are quieter now, but honest. And me? I've never felt more at peace. It's a strange, beautiful thing. What happens when you stop defining your worth by who shows up for you and start defining it by how you show up for yourself? I didn't meet Ava right away. I wanted to. There were days I stared at that one photo, wondering if I was being too harsh, too distant, if I was punishing a child for the sins of her mother. But then I'd remember, this wasn't punishment. This was protection, for me. Because for once, I wasn't sacrificing myself to prove my love. I was letting love look different, healthier, real. When I finally did meet her, it was quiet. No big moment, no Facebook post, no grand reunion, just a Tuesday afternoon. I was at my parents' house dropping off some old photo albums for Dad when Mom asked casually, Would you like to come in for a bit? I hesitated, but something in her voice wasn't pleading. It was soft. I stepped inside, and there she was, Avenue Tiny, swaddled in a blue polka dot blanket, fast asleep in the same bassinet Angela and I had both once used. Angela wasn't there. I didn't ask why. I just stood over her and watched her breathe. She had our nose, that slight upturn, like she was smelling something sweet in a dream. Mom came beside me, holding her breath like I might vanish. "She's beautiful," I whispered. "She is," Mom said, her voice fragile. "And she's going to grow up knowing the truth, that love doesn't have to come with strings." I looked at her. She met my eyes, and in that moment, I believed her. I didn't stay long, just a few minutes, enough to feel the shift, enough to know that things weren't fixed, but they were finally being rebuilt on solid ground. And I left that house not heavy, but light, lighter than I'd been in years, because I didn't feel guilty for walking away anymore. I felt proud for knowing when it was time. Today, I work less and live more. I take Fridays off. I started hiking again. I paint without worrying if it's good. I launched my home line, Thread and Truth, named after the idea that the strongest bonds are the ones you choose. And sales are picking up, slowly, authentically, just like me. Angela and I, we don't talk much. She sends the occasional photo of Ava, a polite update here and there. I respond when I want to. Because boundaries aren't walls, they're doors with locks, and you decide who gets a key. If you've made it this far, maybe you've been someone's fallback. Maybe you've been told to just send a gift. Maybe you've been made to feel like showing up isn't enough unless you disappear when it's inconvenient. If that's you, I want you to know something. You don't have to set yourself on fire to keep anyone else warm. You don't owe loyalty to people who demand it but don't return it. And you are allowed, absolutely allowed, to say, "This far, no further." That doesn't make you cruel. It makes you whole. So here's to wholeness, to walking away from roles that suffocate you, to rewriting endings that were never yours to begin with, and to finally being the main character in your own damn life. Thanks for listening. If this story resonated with you, you're not alone. And if someone once made you feel like you weren't enough, remember, you were too much for the wrong people and just enough for the right ones, starting with yourself.